All right, we're using proportions on our right triangles to try to get through this problem. Given a right triangle ABC with altitude BD drawn to the hypotenuse, so here's the BD hitting the hypotenuse of this one, AC. If AC is 10, that's this long one here is 10, and DC is 7, this one's 7, what is the length of BC? And that's the X are unknown. In simplest radical form, and it's very important to note that the figure is not drawn to scale, so don't let bigger or smaller numbers throw you off if you've done all your math correct. Now, it's real important when you do these, we want to draw the triangles. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but there's 3 triangles here. There's the biggest one, there's a small one, and then there's a medium one. So if you have trouble seeing which ones you need, it might be helpful to draw all 3 and labeling the parts that they give you. So this long side, the hypotenuse on the biggest triangle is 10. They tell us this side is 7. So I know that this side has to be 3 if I just want to kind of label some obvious things that jump out. All right, so let's go ahead and I like starting with the smallest triangle and then going in order that way. So here's the smallest triangle. The right angle. We found out that this side's 3. And that's all we are given, it looks like. Okay, so it looks like we're not going to use the small angle or the small triangle because it only gave us 1 piece. We need at least 2 pieces to kind of help us make a proportion here. So I'm probably not going to use this one. All right. And then this is going to be similar to, these are all similar to each other. And I'll show you why in just a little bit. Let's mark the A, D, and B so we're keeping track of this. Let's go in order. So the medium, that's going to be this triangle right here. The B, so I went at A. So we want it to, so that would be the going this way. So what I just drew is I drew it going this way. So that's the B. Then it goes to D. B to D, and then D shoots straight up to C. All right, and we have a 90-degree angle on this one, so that means this has to be 90 degrees also because it's supplementary. They're on the same line, so that means this is a 90-degree. Now, let's see if there's anything else that we have. What's marked? So BD we don't know. DC we know. DC is 7. DC is 7 right here. And then CB, CB is X. Okay. And then it's similar to the biggest one. Sorry, it's not very straight there. The biggest one. Angle B has the right angle. And then it goes, let's see, the longest side on B is an X. And it hits to C. And then the smallest side from C and B is A right here. All right. So, what I wanted to show you is how they're similar first, and then we'll go ahead and calculate it. Notice, and then let's mark it. The biggest one has a 10 on the hypotenuse. Okay, and there's our 2 relationships right there. We have 2 parts given on the medium one, 2 parts given on the biggest one. So we can relate those as a similarity. But let's just show how they're similar. So here's angle A. I'll give it 1 tick mark. Okay, angle A has 1 tick mark. Angle A has 1 tick mark. So by angle, these 2 triangles are similar. Okay. And then look at angle C. I'll give it 2 tick marks. Angle C has 2 tick marks. Sorry about that bell. Angle C has 2 tick marks. So by angle, the middle and the big triangle are similar. So just by the transitive property, then that means they're all 3 similar. Okay, so, but all I'm focusing on are these two right here, the medium and the big, and we set up our proportion. We can relate it as the corresponding pieces of different triangles or relate the sides to each other. I'm going to go ahead and do that for these triangles. So the hypotenuse to long leg. So the hypotenuse over long leg is going to be the relationship that I'm using. So the hypotenuse long leg of the medium triangle is hypotenuse is x on the medium, long leg is 7. That has to be equal to or proportional to that same relationship on the big triangle. So on the big triangle, the hypotenuse is going to go on the top. What's the hypotenuse? 10. Remember, my triangle is really ugly on this one. Hypotenuse is always opposite the right angle. So that's a 10 over the long leg. The long leg right here is our x. All right, so this is what we can now solve for. I like to clear fractions. So multiply by the common denominator to clear fractions. So the common denominator would be 7x. Do that to both sides. Multiply by 7x. Do that to both sides. Okay, so what cancels or reduces? The 7 reduces with the 7, and the x reduces with the x. So that now gives us, I'll go ahead and put my work right here. On the left side, we have x times x is x squared. On the right side, we have 7 times 10, which is 70. Okay, so at this stage, what's the opposite of square? We square root both sides. The opposite of square is square root. What you do to one side, you do the other. Do you remember what I've always told you to do here? There's a plus or minus sign, plus or minus that has to go here. Whenever you undo a square, you need the plus or minus. But since we're in distance, wow, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. Since we're in distance, it's always positive. So we have x equals square root of 70. Now, does 70 reduce at all? Well, we have to check. What are the prime factorizations of 70? What are all the prime numbers? So that's going to be 2 times 35. 35 is 7 times 5. So there's no matching numbers here. This is equal to the square root of 2 times 5 times 7. If we had a pair of numbers, we can pull it out. But since there's no pairs, that means we are in the simplest form. Square root of 70. Got it. And they got a little animation here to kind of help us out. Well, we did everything here too. Notice that they do the same thing. They relate the triangles together and focus on the ones that have the two similar parts that we can relate together. All right. Do your best on these.